Has the void ever stared back at you? I've touched the void and laughed in its face. Okay, I crapped myself, but lived. Surprising if you have not heard about Nietzsche, as he was a philosopher, and philosophy is not everyone's cup of tea to begin with. This place is called the philosophy section, but I think this is more like an open study or debate on life. I have seen that people come here for more or less the same reasons that brought you along. You'll find here what you are looking for. Just remember a few things. Where all philosophy ends, as in ultimate outcomes of thought, life begins. There can be many complicated problems in life, but all good solutions are simplistic ones. The of life, therefore, is manifest in the simplicity with which it can be live, and joy is in spontaneity. Now, about what Nietzsche said, that if you look into chaos long enough, the chaos will look back at you. This is terribly deep in meaningfulness. The existence of chaos in life provides us with fertile land, full of any possibilities, where we come to find the meanings of things most suitable to our purposes, i.e., we look at chaos purposefully in search of some meanings to our life. If you look into chaos purposelessly, just for the sake of looking, then what you would eventually become, what you look at, and that you, just another way to say, live purposefully, and your life will never run short of meanings. Space is a man-made concept. In nature, there is no such thing as space. Everything that you see is all crammed in together. It's like a thick soup. Basically, there are no gaps. What you see as a gap is filled with things you can't see. If there was nothing before the universe, where did the creator of the universe come from? Rhetorical question. The answer is, nobody knows. There might not be a creator of the universe, so therefore he never needed to be created. A question to, what was there before the Big Bang? The universe is in God. Perhaps he is in the big void, the great nothing, which is the same as to say that everything, cause and effect, cause God. No other answer is satisfactory. Whatever has been, given that could be logically conceivable or acceptable. It's simple. No. The real answer is God knows. What's a nobody? Void, heaven, or reincarnation? Yes. Reincarnation gets my vote. I want to come back as an eagle. I feel like I have a void in my soul. What do? I feel as though I'm missing something. I would want or love to star in, or direct, a movie when I'm older. But I can't, because I didn't take drama. I want to move to America, but I'm in England. I don't know how I could prepare myself for this. Please, can somebody help? I would love to do that, more than anything, I can assure you. I love to be creative. People at high school think I'm weird and fucked up in the head, but they don't realise how badly I want this. Please shed some light on the subject. Thanks. Sounds like the void is made up of yearning with no hope. Get yourself some hope and start working on it. The problem is that you don't have a void as your activity or attachment to romantic yearning. We need to feel hungry in order to put our hopes into actions. You're not talking about the moon here. All this is achievable, so what is stopping you? There is a local film group where I live, and it's full of young people wanting to star and direct, and they do. You can get to America as a volunteer at summer camp. Find the way to get what you want, and drop the romance and the no-can-do. What is space? I mean the gaps between things. What is it? Space is a place where you don't want anything in it, or you can say emptiness, in both ways, things and spaces. Think about it. It's a pretty crazy question. Took me 5 minutes to think hard. Well, that was my answer. Also, when my boyfriend asked me for space, it does mean that he doesn't want me in that moment called space. And things, when you give the gaps to things, that gaps is the place you don't want anything there, right? Universal energy. This connects all things. This is how you feel something is about to happen just before it does. It has already happened in another location, and the energy wave that transmits through the energy has reached you before your other senses can measure it. I guess literally it would be something separating two or more other things. For example, a gap between my toes is not nothing. It is air. So air separates one toe from another. Infinity. Unchangeable. Ever-existent. A purely subjective view of the space between things would suggest it is filled with illusions. Illusions of all sorts of dreams and possibilities. For instance, I have always to go somewhere, to achieve something or to meet someone. But in each case, I have come to terms with distances in between my objective and myself, the distance that I have to cover and conquer. I see that there is space between me and the destination in my mind. I want to get there, but I see that the space in between is in fact the path, leading me up to my destination. Then there could be opportunities along the way, or the path could be frothing with difficulties and dangers. I always want to achieve what I do not have, or what is at some distance from where I am. Then in a more physical, the space in general is hardly a complete void, or an emptiness, according to the scientific. The space where we see nothing is in fact teeming with activities, where particles of unknown nature and origin make their momentary appearances, only to disappear. Where do they come, and to where do they go? Scientists can only speculate, and the best of their speculation so far is that they are like the dust being rubbed off from some other reality, adjacent to ours, or that they come into being by the energy of the future. Here, nothing is left, and energy is restored back to its right place in time. The conventional interpretation of space, however, is closer to understanding. The space, in fact, is like a gigantic three-dimensional sponge, with material objects suspended in it the way fruit pieces are in a fruitcake. Then space is compressed around heavy objects like planets, stars, and galaxies, due to their gravitational force. The true nature of space itself, however, has not been definitive unknown. It is limitlessly transparent to light and magnetic energy, but is affected by the presence of gravitational force, which suggests that there is something out there between things. It's only when we lose something that we realise how much we miss it. If we don't feel empty, we won't feel full either. It's sort of like the good and evil concept. One is decidedly better for us, but neither can exist without the other. No one says it better than Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. We join spokes together in a wheel, but it is the centre hole. Move. We shape clay into a pot, but it is the emptiness inside. Want. We hammer wood for a house, but it is the inner space that makes it livable. We work with being, but non-being is what we use. Then if we consider the concept of space metaphysically, then one thing that we notice first is that it has to be something between things that occupy space. If there would not be there would only be space. Then if space has to be defined by material objects as something that keeps things what they are at their own places, but space, in fact, is one of the attributes of all things material in nature. Everything has to be somewhere different from all other things to be what it is, i.e., we cannot have realities of two things completely overlapping, as we cannot have two swords in one sheath. The only way to acknowledge God is by reading and systematically studying the letter that he wrote to us, the Bible. We can learn what he loves and what he hates. We can also find satisfying, logical answers to the things that torment most people, such as, why are we allowed to suffer? Will things go on this way forever? What really happens to us when we die? Is there any hope for our dead loved ones? What is the kingdom of God? Does God cause our problems? Are God and Jesus Christ the same? Where is mankind and earth itself headed? How can I live a life that is pleasing to God? Do all religions lead to the same place? Or is there only one true religion? How can we have a happier family life? A void? A vacuum? I'm not sure what you mean. A space is a complete void. It does not heat up. And what happens to the heat in the void? What happens to the heat in the void of space? To answer this interesting question, we have to first discuss what heat is. A lot of people use the word heat as a noun. They say things like, if something is hot, it has a lot of heat. Or make it hotter, add some heat. Or when something cools down, it loses heat. Actually, the word heat is a short way of saying when the temperature of something changes, the energy that is exchanged is called heat. So, heat only occurs when the temperature of something changes. Water sits on a kitchen counter for a long time. The water does not so much heat up to room temperature as heat is exchanged between the kitchen and the ice water. I know this sounds really picky, but it is important because when you use heat in this way, you are less likely to forget that energy never goes away. In other words, if you think of heat as a noun, then you can, without realizing it, think that you can add heat like you can add salt to something. But you are not. You can't add heat. You can only transfer heat. The energy does not go away. Now your question becomes, if the energy from the sun cannot go away, the answer is simple. The energy from the sun just keeps on going and going and going and going. Is space really a void? If not, what do you think is in it? Your question. Outer space is far more of a void than the most complete vacuum produced on Earth. But on the subatomic level, even deep intergalactic space is filled with particles. It is theorized that some of these particles are temporarily drawn from other dimensional spaces as they enter and exit our space, which also creates a positive outward pressure that contributes to the expanding universe. So for all practical purposes, space is a void, but in the realm of quantum physics is far from it. Is space empty, a void? As no couches or... Yes, it is. Is space nothing? That's a different question. You can perceive it, point at it and say, hey, that's empty space. Even though to do that, it would need a defining parameter. You can move through it, however. As human beings, however, we lack a concept of absence of both space and matter. It is impossible to conceive. Describe something without using taste, sight, smell, touch, or hearing. Space is pretty much empty. When two galaxies merge, rarely will two stars collide, because there is so much space between stars and galaxies. While galaxies, empty as they are the most crowded areas in space. Galaxies, truly empty and truly huge. On a smaller scale, where there is matter, empty. 99% of the weight of matter is concentrated in the nucleus of atoms that take up far less than 1% of the space in the atom. So, while space is not completely empty, there is room for billions and billions times more matter than there is. And the people who say otherwise are wrong. Space is neither the absence of matter or the presence of matter. It occupies space. If matter does not exist, it ceases to exist. The universe is expanding at an incredible rate into space. It may be argued that space is void, but what would we know? How big, therefore, is the space that the universe is expanding into? Inside the boundary of the universe, there is space that has been occupied by matter, mostly dark matter, which is undetectable by any scientific instrument currently in existence. We know it is there, though, because gravity would not work otherwise. Another question would be that is space inside the universe void? Is a vacuum space? Time. For time to exist, a series of events by which to quantify it. If no events take place, time does not exist. Logically, though, it seems if space and time are constant, they would exist without reference to any matter or event. It's just that they are unquantifiable. Space is not a void. It has planets, asteroids, comets, gases, photons, and all manner of exotic particles, not to mention stars. In the universe, there are several large void areas, 3 places. They extend tens of million light years wide between galactic clusters. Real void space is located outside of our universe. I believe our universe occupies a tiny volume within endless space. An empty void in the soul can only be filled with God. Find him and let him lead and guide your life. He is everywhere, in the US, in England, and he wants to be in your heart. All the stuff we can do will never fill the void in our souls. Many try to fill that void with drugs and alcohol and materialism and endless activities, but no matter how hard they try or how busy they get, only God can fill that place. Why? Because it is a God-shaped void. He designed so we would need him in our lives. Everything else is like trying to put a square peg in a round hole. Your dreams for the future are best placed in his hands. Do what you can do and leave the rest to God. Don't worry about other opinions at school. They are struggling just as much as you to find something to fill the void in their own souls. They think picking on you will make them feel better about themselves. It won't. Love others, appreciate others, and you will discover life will open its doors for you. Wear a smile, be yourself and go to church, one where you can really get to know God. When you find it. God bless. Is darkness the void, the only thing that is truly eternal? Light gutters and dies, gods are raised, then fall and are forgotten about. Dust. Knowledge is forgotten. Cultures come and go. Only darkness, the void is eternal, is pure, incorruptible. What, if anything, do you think lives in the void? Chocolates and your mother. This is eternal. Our soul is a single unit of consciousness that stems from the Creator's consciousness. This is known as infinite consciousness. All units of consciousness are interconnected to all other types of consciousness. Everything that exists is called the Creator. Infinite consciousness is the universal energy that exists everywhere, or all that is. No voids are eternal. Next question. Nope. The light shines eternal. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. Life. And that life was the light of all mankind. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. Jesus is the Word made flesh. Miss this light, and you'll end up in unending darkness. You seem to have no real grasp of what light is, what void is, nor what life is. Absolutely. And I think you should make your statement into a poem. How to spot a rebound relationship? What are the key things? I would just like to know, how do you spot a rebound relationship? What do they do? What does it achieve? And how to spot if your ex is in a rebound relationship? Commenting with silly comments. Just answer the question, please. Usually a rebound is someone you get together with after recently getting up. He or she may talk about their ex a lot, or still keep pictures of them in their computer or phone. They may compare you to their ex, almost trying to convince themselves you're as good as their ex. They may also seem to get serious about you, or possessive of you, really early on in the relationship, trying to fill the void their ex left. It may get sexual really quick, and then die after a few hookups. I've rebounded a few times, and this is my behaviour every time. No feelings, just hooking up. What's the purpose? I mean, why? What is our purpose? There must be more than just procreation. What is there to live for? The only reason we tend to think that there must be a purpose, anxiety and the sense of void, when we realise that life is purposeless. And we tend to defend against such a notion by creating religions, arts, children, to give meaning and keep our minds away from the anxiety. Each one of us was given a divine mission. Go away and explore ourselves. Learn, grow, and understand everything that has been created, and eventually rejoin the Creator after having learned everything that is infinitely possible to experience and having acquired the highest understanding of creation itself, or all that is. Your path of evolution is unique to you, but your souls, rather your individuality, is your unique story and journey to understand creation. No one really knows the answer to that question, and those that may know are not here to answer for us. Do you want to pass on only to realise that there was a purpose? Just because we don't know the answer to a question doesn't mean that there's not an answer out there. The question in particular has much importance and may never be defined. You can, however, define it by every word you say and every step you define it on your own terms and not the terms of others. The question of life itself is only revealed in death. But don't you think it would be a shame to find that out too early? Once you know the answer, you're dead. Unfortunately, this is life. What are you going to do? Make of it what you want it to be. And in that aspect, you lived your life perfectly. Sex is about so much. P.S. I agree with Thingamabub. Everybody needs to find their own purpose. Mine is, though, PPS. They're all in league with the devil. Some basic purposes for every individual. Loving yourself. Contented in your life. I don't know how open you are to religion. Your purpose was for companionship with God. God wants a relationship with you. He created you and has an amazing purpose and plan for you. I encourage you to seek him out. I promise you, even if you don't believe in God. If you genuinely want to know what your purpose is, or if God is real, just ask him. He won't let you down. See for yourself. Your mission is achieved by ascending your individual consciousness through each of the dimensions within the universe. To begin your mission, you had to experience a variety of intense third density, i.e. the physical universe, lessons on Earth, including selfishness, pain, poverty, love, anger, etc. Earth is a planet to begin evolving your consciousness at the infant level, until you consciously realize this illusion and choose to stop experiencing these dense lessons of spiritual growth beyond this dimension. I think no matter what kind of purposes we set for ourselves, the only purpose of our lives is determined by nature. Everything everywhere is controlled by nature. Nature kills us if it's needed. Nature gives us life if it's needed. The ultimate purpose is the preservation of nature, I think. Everyone has their own purpose for living. It's up to you to decide what makes you happy, or else we are just animals living to mate and fulfill instinctual drives. To evolve the human race, to love and be loved, and to give the universe a bloody good laugh at our expense. This question for you. Only you can. Ask yourself, what is my purpose? It's our natural instinct to survive, hence why it's not very easy to drown yourself. Be happy, but harm none. There are many ways. Find your own path. Bring others to progressing and going up to total freedom, spiritual freedom. Ciao, John John. There is a lot more to life than procreation, e.g. sex, pizza. You live to die. With condoms, even that's gone. Sex. What thoughts do you all have on the thousands of light years of nothingness scientists are now talking about? Can there be nothingness? Is nothingness atomless? More questions than answers? The reality is that thousands of light years of empty space is the usual thing in space. To us is Andromeda, in light years away, larger than us. There is probably nothing but a few thin gas and dust clouds between, but it is possible that there may be a few stray stars. What can be made of this is uncertain. Perhaps these big voids are relatively common, perhaps not. So far, the void is not thought to conflict with the overall Big Bang theory. Scientists are like religious people. When they cannot explain something, they take by faith, some hypothesis that fits the equation, and run with it. Sometimes they are wrong. Many times they are able to demonstrate the hypothesis correct. Mass in the universe appears to be inconsistent with the amount that the entire universe is purported to weigh. Astronomers have found an enormous void in space that measures nearly 1 billion light years across. By a University of Minnesota team, it's about 1,000 times the volume of what would be expected in typical cosmic gaps. This proves my theory of vast universe rotation and disproves all of the scientific community. I would like to take this opportunity to say, I told you so, 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 I told you so.